So at that time, are you still you?
I don't know. I think so. I don't know. Am I? Am I not?
I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think
So when we say we, I mean we are a human makeup in which there is a bold soul duality. So I am material and immaterial at the same time. Okay, that's my existence. But I wasn't always physical. Okay, I have a physical existence when I had been given birth to my mother by my mother. So when we say, how do we know God is one? It's because we know we exist and there has to be a necessary existence, because you cannot explain our existence, which is all contingent. Everything that you can see, they're limited and finite and they cannot self-depend. It's like saying, I gave life to my own self. It makes no sense, because at one point I didn't have life, then I have life now, so I am dependent on my life for something, on something. Everything is dependent on something, and that cannot be itself dependent. So ultimately what we are going to be dependent on has to be necessarily independent. And there cannot be more than one of those independents. That's why one God comes in. If you have two independent absolute entities, the world would not even exist. The world would not subsist, because there will be conflict of will. Independent means you don't compromise. For example, between yourself, if you have an independent will, you don't compromise. You say, let's go this way. Let's say this lady says, no, we're going to go this way and that way. And you say, no, I want to go that way. You don't compromise to their will. So what's going to happen? Okay, let's just understand now. Three of you, you're going to go this way, that way, and that way. All of you are independent. Which way are you going to go collectively? When you are in control, you are the sovereign. You are the absolute, not limited, not finite, not deficient. So if you have the will, your will is law, your will is command, your will will manifest in reality. So if you want to go this way, you will go this way. But they want you to go that way or that way. So what's going to happen? Because of conflict of will, it's not going to happen. It's like you're driving a car with independent steering wheels, and each of you want to take your car whatever you want. The car's not going to go all possible ways. Yeah? The universe will have every single possible universes will have a necessary existence, and that will be one, and unique, and absolute, and independent, and self-sufficient. That is why Abdurrahman, Trinity, or any belief system in which there are multiple divine persons, there's always going to be issues of conflict of will. Jesus Christ in Christianity says, I don't want to die. Let this cup be away from me. But nevertheless, I'll follow what you will, not my will, your will. So you can see clearly in the scripture of the Christians, there is demarcations between two wills, one subservient to the other. When you are subservient, you're not sovereign, you're not absolute, you're not independent. Necessary existence will be perfect without any deficiencies, because the necessary existence of our reality would not be somehow brought into existence. It will necessarily exist. Necessary existence means there is no limitation put on it, either in knowledge or in power.
So if there's one God, why would he make all these conflicting different religions and other gods?
Very good question, Abdurrahman. God doesn't make conflicting religion. People deviate from one true religion.
But if he has control over them, why does he let them do that?
Free will. He allows people to choose or to not choose, to believe or not believe.
Free will differentiate with what you were explaining earlier of being, going different directions.
The Creator, one God, is in absolute control, but He's created agencies like us with limited amount of free will. Imagine I say, okay, I want to fly. I flap my arms. I will never fly, even though I will it. My will is not going to become into a reality, but whatever God wills, it happens. So God gave us limited amount of free will in which we can exercise our choice. And that means I can disbelieve in God, I can reject God, I can believe in many gods, I can believe in no gods. Based on this, I can create my own way of life. I can create atheism, I can create deism, I can create Zoroastrianism, I can create many things. But when God created human beings and gave them the intellect, He didn't leave them astray. He gave them also guidance through prophets and messengers to remind them why they're created. Otherwise, he will be unjust, not telling them why they're here, what they're supposed to do. Because the necessary being must be perfect. A perfect being will be just, not unjust, because being unjust is a deficiency of a character. Being just is your perfection of your character. So if God is necessarily existence, he will exist with all knowledge, being omniscient, and he will exist with being fully, completely just. That means he cannot just raise a prophet to the children of Israel and only guide them and say, I'm the God of Israel, and leave the Chinese and the Indonesians without any guidance. That would be unjust.
So what if I'm born in some remote, whatever village that's never even heard of any other religion? What would God's decision be based on that?
Excellent question. God answers that question in the Quran. It says, there is not a community or a nation that has gone by that he hasn't sent a warner to them. He's always sent a warner because he's just. So every nation and community had a warner. It may be that people have forgotten, and God in his mercy, he sends another prophet or another warner to the same nation, like in children of Israel. The Jewish people didn't have one prophet. They had so many, one after the other. They came, they killed them, God sent another one from his mercy. So today, we already have the final prophet and messenger sent from God.
Jesus, isn't it?
So
Jesus is God according to Christianity, not a prophet. Unless you believe he is prophet sent by God.
He's the one God sent. Right?
Then he's not God, as we were saying. Either he's not God or he's God. So let's come back to the point here. I'll address your point in a second. I'll address your point in a second. So why do we find some people still saying there may be someone, it's possible, let's say somewhere in Alaska, there's a group of people that have never had internet, never had any people gone to them. No Christian missionaries went, no Muslims like Abdullah Abdurrahman went there to talk to them. Does that mean they have no tools to know there is a God? Of course not. God has given them the faculty of intellect. Intellect.
What if they're not that intellectual?
Look. No. It's not about that, not that intellectual. God does not put people a burden more than them can bear. That's what the Quran says. That means if some people are incapacitated within their mental faculty, they are not accountable. The pen is lifted. They will not be punished because it makes no sense. It's a travesty of justice to punish someone who has no mental capacity.
Yeah.
But for everyone else who has the mental capacity and the ability to use reason and intellect, for sure they can arrive at a conclusion that there is a creator of this universe, and that creator is one, and the higher being, the one who everyone should depend on. That's why in the Quran, in Surah Al-Mulk, God says, when the angels of the hellfire are dragging those who deserve to go to hellfire in a place of punishment, they will ask them, the angels would ask them, did they not come to you, warners, prophets and messengers, to tell you about God? He says, yes, they came. We belied them, we rejected them, we denied them. But they will then confess. Had we but listened to the prophets and messengers and warners, or used our aql, our intellect, we would not have ended up in this place. That means using our intellect, we can be sure to know without a doubt that there is an originator of our universe who created us as well, and for a reason. And that is one true
what
God.
you're talking about is quite complex,
19,
right?
Sorry?
You're saying about using intellect to make a judgment about a religion. So the problem is, for someone who's super neutral, I would go to the Muslim person, like you, and they would, preach to me that this is how it is. And then the Christian would tell me, no, this is how it is. And the Buddhist would tell me, this is how it is. Each one of them has very complex, convincing arguments.
Convincing? That's where the disagreement.
They're complex.
Doesn't
And
matter.
for the average intellect like me, I'm not smart enough to take everything into consideration to find the absolute truth.
We can demonstrate right here. We can demonstrate right here that polytheism,
What is that?
believing in multiple deities or multiple gods,
Yeah, like Christianity
is not
and Hindu.
It's okay, brother. It's not reasonable, not believable. We can demonstrate right here.
Okay.
So that means that leaves us to monotheistic belief system,
Okay.
which makes sense. There can only be one true God. So those who say they believe in one true God, you can examine their faith and see, is it they're still holding to the true concept of God,
Yeah.
or they're associating partners with God. Like in Christianity, they say Jesus is divine. Jesus is God. Jesus is Son of God. Jesus has all God has. But when you examine that concept, you realize either they believe in two gods or they believe in any gods at all. as I mentioned
So
earlier.
if God said that, though, who are you to contradict him?
You see, it's not about what God says, it's about how do you know God says that or not.
Yeah.
For example, a book, I write with my own hands and I say, God is 20 million.
Yeah.
Now, and I am a political authority in a country and I make every single people believe or I kill them all. Does that mean whatever my book says is correct? You still have to scrutinize what that statement is. Is it true or false? Is it correct or incorrect? So if a Bible, for example, says God is forgetful, I would say that clearly is not from God, because a necessary being can never forget.
But you're assuming there is a God.
I'm not assuming.
Have you seen him?
It's self-evident.
Have you seen him?
So let's understand one point before I answer your question. Is believing in the existence of something dependent on seeing?
So if you have not seen him, maybe there are multiple gods.
No, but let's understand one point though. The logic, the reason that my friend you're using is to know something exists or not, we must see. I know for sure you haven't seen your pancreas. Have you seen your pancreas?
Or your brain.
I haven't seen anything, but I feel it.
Wait.
It affects me.
No, you
It
haven't.
does not affect me.
You have felt your liver?
It affects me if it's injured.
So
God
now we've moved.
doesn't affect
Thank you. So now we have understood something.
No,
You'll feel it.
that's a ridiculous.
So now we've moved. We have moved.
But that is ridiculous.
I'm answering. Okay. So I'm saying we've moved from seeing to seeing the effects. So when you see the effects of the Creator,
The effects of the Creator are hell on earth.
so you maybe
Happening to Ukraine.
Maybe-
You see what the Russians are doing. You see what Islam in its extremity does.
How is that Islam?
wait.
Everything in extreme
So
has no value.
that's another argument, Abdurrahman. If there was no suffering and evil, would that automatically prove God exists?
We don't know. You are
Then
assuming.
your argument and your reasoning is
You are
faulty.
assuming.
Did you realize something? You reason saying, how can God be in existence because of the suffering and evil?
No, because you haven't seen him.
We've dealt with that already, now you're going back to it.
But the
It's not
result
laughable.
is- the
It's not
result-
laughable. You're older than me in age. It is not a matter of love. We dealt with the idea, the reason, fallacious reasoning of seeing to believe in something. Have you seen your brain?
But I feel it.
You feel it. So now we keep moving the goalposts. So
My original
If I heard
question
God,
is
he
how
has
do you
to
take into
Thank you.
consideration all
Let's
these
come back.
beliefs and make
Yeah.
a judgment on it?
So when we consider every single belief, do you not come into the discussion? Come on.
You see,
Right.
what he has.
When we, excuse me, we're not interested in you now. I'm interested in Abdurrahman. If you want to preach, you're more than welcome to take a ladder and preach. But if you want to engage in the discussion, listen to Abdurrahman. So Abdurrahman is saying, how do we then decipher, filter the truth from the falsehood when there are seemingly contradictory religions and belief system in the world? Not everything is the same. They're contradictory. We say, we look at them and we assess them. And we see how, if they are self-contradictory, they cannot be true. If they are...
Why should it not be true? You are deciding.
Do you agree? If they are self-contradictory, they cannot be true. Imagine they say, oh, God is infinite and finite at the same time.
Why not?
Would you accept that belief system?
Why not?
Because you have no basis in discussion.
And if a God is all powerful, he can be everything. He can be there and not there.
Do you,
He can be seen and not
are you a man and a woman at the same time?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's your assumption.
So this platform here with a Muslim is not, unfortunately, for people like yourself, my friend. You need to go elsewhere and have entertainment. This is not entertainment. This is being serious. Because we are almost 1 foot in the grave.
faith.
And then guess what? We laugh like, I may be a man and a woman. I may exist or not exist at the same time. You know what?
Why not?
That's what I'm saying.
But you
1 foot in the
believe
grave,
things
and
that
we
you
are
can't
taking
see.
it so lightly.
Believing that things
So
that you can't
Abdurrahman,
feel.
the Quran offers falsification tests for it being true or false. You can actually falsify whether it's actually from God or not. It gives you own falsification tests. This is something that is given us to help us to take that step of accepting what is true and what is not. This is what science does. It comes up with a theory and says, this is what I've done. If you want to disprove me, that's the way about to do it. The Quran offers many falsification tests, and none of them, when applied, people can say the Quran is no longer from the divine.
What are
because
these tests?
good question. Number one, the Quran says this is such a book. No one can imitate either the whole of it, either 10 chapters of it, or a single chapter like the Quran. No, it's not even possible to imitate and bring about something like the Quran. So people have tried for centuries. People are trying. You can go in the internet, you can check, a surah like the Quran, and people are failing. There are objective academic works demonstrating what is the challenge of the Quran in terms of bringing something like it. So it's not about matter of levels and degrees of eloquence. It's showing that's how objectively you can measure up. And if you cannot, then you know that the Quranic claim stands that it is from God. Because if it wasn't from God, you'd be able to imitate it. We can imitate every single literature, every single piece of art, poetry, music, whatever, because that's within the human capacity to do so.
What do you mean imitate? Like just
Up to now.
To give you an example, Shakespeare's sonnet, it has a structural form. You can imitate that form.
Okay, yeah. So
The Quranic form, it has a form. It's called the Quranic genre. You cannot imitate it because it would not make any sense when you speak in the form of the Quran. In the stylistics of the Quran, if you were to speak like this, it would not make any sense. The Arabs themselves would say that is not something meaningful or it's a laughable thing. So the Quran, however, on the contrary, within its constructs, not only it's meaningful, not only it's eloquent, it's something that people appreciate the magnitude and the grandeur and the beauty and the meaning of that statement in the particular construct. So that's where the uniqueness of the Quran comes in. Number two, the Quran offers, I'm not speaking to you, my friend, don't you realize? I'm ignoring you. Maybe you don't exist. It's possible?
Listen.
Okay, is it? Just 1 second, Abdul Rahman.
I can take a scan of my brain. I can take an X-ray.
Is it possible?
Liver, yes.
1 second. Is it possible, Abdul Rahman, please.
But you can't see God.
Abdul Rahman.
You can't scan God.
Okay.
You can't take an X-ray.
Is it possible?
You have faith.
Tell me when you finish.
Faith is based on your belief and nothing else.
based on belief as well.
It is based on an empty platform.
You finished?
Just your faith.
Are you finished?
No, there's no harm in it.
Okay. Is it possible that you may not exist?
I exist because I am.
No. Is it possible that you may not exist?
I don't know.
So it's possible.
To me,
so
I
he
feel
doesn't
I
exist to me.
exist.
So to me, he doesn't exist.
What a stupid
Right.
question. Sorry, that is stupid.
You see? He doesn't exist to me.
But you just have
doesn't
faith.
exist.
Why don't you admit
It's possible.
it? You have faith based
So,
on an
is there anyone else? Otherwise, we're going to come to a close because I don't entertain trolls.
You don't
Maybe
hear
you
your
can do an
God.
outro.
He doesn't touch you. He hasn't helped you. He hasn't done a thing
Okay.
for you.
So earlier on,
All you're speaking is
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim,
English,
alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala
which is a
rasulillah.
foreign language, which is a language
you
you
don't
have
exist.
learned
Right.
by coming to England. So you have your entire basis.
Why are you so?
Okay, thank
Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry and suffering inferiority complex? Right. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I began this conversation with two ladies over there. One of them is a Christian and the other one is an atheist, agnostic. And I clarified to her that her position actually from discussion, she's an agnostic. And then there seems to be a Abdul Rahman involved in that discussion with them within the group. It's a Muslim name, Allahu A'lam what his belief is, but regardless, he asked some questions. Now, there are many people out there who are maybe also suffering from what we call this uncertainty, this skepticism, these issues of not being sure about something. But Islam offers that level of certainty. Islam offers you that degree of yaqeen, where you can be content in your heart when you use what the Quran offers you and provides you as a way of life, as a paradigm. You will be tranquil in your heart and content and peaceful in your lives. You will not suffer from hyper-skepticism, all these doubts and so on and so forth. So what I'm requesting, if people are out there like this, read the Quran. It will give you that solace. It will give you that comfort that you're so much lacking because you think everything else is so confusing. Islam will clarify that confusion and it will guide you to the truth. And once you know it, come back to it and accept it. That is what submission is all about. Submission and surrender has to be willing and sincere and with knowledge and conviction. And that is what we all are trying to do. So may Allah guide us all to this truth. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.